All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining into the webinar today. My name is Dhruv Singhal, the founder of Open Gears, as well as a junior in Metea Valley High School. And it's great to see that so many of you guys are interested in listening to the speaker today. Once again, I hope that this event provides you with new insight and new knowledge. I would like to, before we start the event, I would like to mention that our school's principal, Dr. Eccles, is in attendance today. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Eccles, for coming to the webinar. It's great to see you here. And I would now like to welcome our speaker today, Seetha Chalichama. Seetha is a junior majoring in aerospace engineering and minoring in computer science at UIUC. She is also part of the Hoeft Technology and Management program at UIUC. Before we start, I want to remind again that please do not hesitate to ask questions, whether you decide to unmute or write them in the chat. Thank you so much, Seetha, for taking time out of your busy schedule to help inspire students to pursue your STEM career. And without further ado, please give Seetha your undivided attention and a warm virtual round of applause. Thank you, Seetha.
I will share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Oh. Okay, so today I'll be talking about aerospace engineering. A little about me. I went to Metea Valley High School. I graduated in class of 19. Yeah, go Mustangs. I'm a junior at U of I right now. I'm majoring in aerospace engineering and minoring in computer science and the Hoeft Technology and Management program. So a little about my high school experience. I was part of Business Professionals of America, or BPA. I did the video production team for that. I was also part of Girls Who Code. I was in that my junior and senior year, and that's kind of how I kind of started learning about STEM and engineering at first. My senior year, I was also part of the FTC robotics team, and I learned a lot of engineering basics from there, and that's what really initially had me exploring engineering majors when applying to colleges. I also did the student-directed plays during my time at high school, and I was on the teen advisory board at the Aurora Public Library. So some of the courses I just took in high school to help me learn about engineering was like basic honors, chemistry, physics, and AP Chem, AP Physics, AP Computer Science A and Principles, and a few of the PLTW classes. And then a lot of it was also just learning and exploring on my own, going to camps. I actually came to a camp at U of I during the summer between my junior and senior year, and that's how I got introduced to aerospace engineering at first.
So was the camp that you did at UIUC an aerospace engineering related camp?
So it was games camp, and it was they have a games camp and a wise camp, and both are very similar. And you apply to like two of the engineering that they have that they offer at U of I, and I got in for like the computer science and aerospace. And just because I knew a little about computer science, I wanted to explore a little more. And so I was like, maybe I'll do aerospace engineering. And I chose that, and I got really interested. Yeah, it was a really good camp. I would recommend everyone to apply for it. We actually got to fly a plane during the camp, so that was really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. And that was over the summer, right?
Yeah, that was over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
A little about like the leadership I do in college now. So I'm the outreach director for Women in Aerospace. So we organize events for women and girls that want to learn about aerospace, and we just kind of build a community around that so they're comfortable to share their opinions and what they want to do in the career field, and it's just like a support system. And then we also there's an organization called She's the First. I'm the secretary for that, and there we raise funds to fund girls in low-income countries so that they can get a equal education there. And then I'm also the administrative chair for SJP. And another thing I do is engineering learning assistant for Engineering 100. That's a course that all freshmen are required to take as an engineering student at U of I. So it's just introducing freshmen to life at college and kind of helping them with the transition going from high school to college in the engineering department. So there's actually another camp called WIT and Eager, These are both engineering summer camps that happened during the summer. And this past summer, I was a lab assistant for that. And it's a lot, it was all virtual, but hopefully this summer that's going to be in person, and that's really fun. I've acted like a STEM tutor for learning large through WashU, and it's been a great way to help people. And then I also work at the EC Electronics Service Shop. Um, a little about my college experience and extracurriculars. This is a little more about aerospace, but this past summer I interned at T-Mobile for Business as an implementation engineer, and that's actually an opportunity I got through the Hoeft Technology Management program. That was a really nice way of kind of integrating business and engineering together and exploring a new avenue for my career. And last semester, I actually did undergraduate research, and I got that. I got that from doing robotics in high school. Actually, so we were working on a morphing by airfoil that would counteract turbulence for an airplane while flying. So it would change the shape of the airfoil in flight, so it can counteract any disturbances that would happen. And for that, so we printed 3D printed an airfoil, and then we put that in the one tunnel. And so I was in charge of making the an automatic arm for the airfoil so that it would move consistently, and we could measure the deflection. And then actually next semester, I just got a research position 2 weeks ago for working with robotics and drones. So we'll be talking about like how robotics interact with humans, and like, so if usually robotics like are fine if it's in like a controlled system and they work fine, but then if you want that to happen in a house where people are moving and there's different noises happening and things like that, it's hard to control how a robot would act. So this is focused on studying like human behavior and robotic behavior and how that integrates. The next thing is Illinois Space Society. It's a very big RSO at U of I, so most of the aerospace students that are interested in space actually take part in ISS. So there's multiple different technical teams that do different things. So propulsion systems or a hybrid engine, things like that. Anything that you're interested in, you could work on anything. And it just gives you exposure to space and anything you want to do with that. The next one is student aircraft builders that actually participates in a competition called Red Bull Flu Tag. Some of you might have heard about it, but it's basically you build a glider and it's like life size. And so I forget where it takes place, but you basically jump off a podium that's like 30 feet high with a glider and then land in the water. You just measure how long it's going to be in the air, things like that. I'm also part of a engineering and social sorority. So Alpha Omega Epsilon, it's just a community for people to come together and study together and find similar interests in the STEM field. I'm also part of a dance team called Fataka. It's just something I do on the side. And then a little about, you guys can ask me more about the questions of the class that I took, but so far I've taken flight mechanics, mechanics of aerospace structures, applied aerospace structures in compressible and compressible flow, material science and electric and electronic circuits, dynamical systems, control systems, citizen dynamics, thermodynamics, quantum physics, and stats and probability for computer science for the minor, numerical methods, and a few business classes for the technology and management minor, which were like micro, macro, finance, accounting, and some marketing classes, and product design, development, and management innovation technology. If you guys have any questions about specific classes, what's required?
About the Hoeft Technology Management program, could you talk a little bit more about that and what it is?
Yeah, so it's basically a program that was founded exactly 25 years ago, actually. We had like the 25th anniversary this year. So it's basically a minor program where engineering students and business students come together and they take classes together, and then they engineering students take a few business classes, and business students take a few of the engineering classes. So it's basically you apply your sophomore year, and there's going to be 25 to 30 people who get picked from the business side and 25 to 30 from the engineering side, and you take one big class together every semester, and then you take one class from the opposite field, and then you study that. It's just a good way of integrating business and engineering if you're interested in that. I personally do like the technical work I do, but I do see myself in a career where I'm integrating some like interaction with people and stuff. So that is what I'm looking for, and I thought it was a great fit for me.
Can you talk a little bit about the application process behind that? Like what
Yeah.
you do for to apply for it?
So so freshman year, there's actually you can apply to take a T&M seminar class. So that's just going to get you accommodated to the class. And when you apply and if you get in, you can take the class and talk to some of the corporate sponsors. And we have great corporate sponsors. Some of them are T-Mobile again. Um, we have BP and Boeing and John Deere and some of the other big Caterpillar and some other companies that have great connections and they help us out and they come do events with us. And so basically, you can take that class seminar your sophomore year, and then sophomore year you would apply by writing an essay. And out of the people that apply writing an essay, they pick half of the people, and then they do 3 interviews. So first, the students that are already in T&M would interview you, and then it would be one of the directors, and then finally it would be a professor from the opposite field. So a business professor would interview the engineering students, and an engineering professor would interview the business students. And then after that, you find out if you got in or
Oh,
not.
that seems really rigorous.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're
yeah.
going back to the list of classes that you wrote. Like, what has been your most favorite class so far?
Um, well, I think I really liked flight mechanics. It was the first aerospace class I took, and it was a great like introduction. And we did a little bit of aerospace, and we did like space in it, so we learned a little about like orbits and how like the airfoil works and the different ways to construct an airplane. We did mini projects. I think it was like the best like all encompassing class. Whereas like in the future you'd like take a class on incompressible flow and it's a lot of math and stuff, but like this class was like a little about like applying the skills you learn and like what the future of the aerospace classes would look like. So it was a fun class, but also informative. So I
And
really
on the
loved
other hand, like, what has been the most challenging class you've taken so far?
it. Well, that's a hard one. I definitely say incompressible and compressible flow. It's a lot of math and it's also you think that like going aerospace you're only gonna do aerospace, but a lot of the engineering now like requires you to do coding and stuff. So all of these classes I have to use Python or I'd have to use Google Colab to do my homework. So it's pretty important that you learn how to code to do some of these classes. So we've been using Python to do some of the work that's required in these aerospace classes. And that was the first time I had to apply a lot of that to things I didn't already know. So it was a little challenging at first.
Hmm. So I got a question in the chat. So this attendee is a freshman right now in high school, and the attendee wants to know what classes the attendee should take during his or her high school years in order to go into aerospace engineering. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I definitely say take some of the science classes as electives. So take AP Physics, take AP Chemistry, just because you can get that out of the way when you come into college with credit, but it also gives you, if you want to take the class again in college, it just gives you a better understanding. And so when you go into these higher classes, having a better understanding of the basics will really help you excel there. And then it just, a lot of aerospace is a lot of physics and a lot of math. Yeah, definitely take AP calculus AB or BC. Just taking any of those would really help because all my classes right now we use integrals and we just do differential equations and all of this needs a good understanding of math and it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get credit but just having that in the back of your mind and knowing that you like this something you have to learn it just makes it a smoother process when you finally transition into college and some of the other classes I would recommend is taking PLTW classes. Those are really good not only for like classes but like projects you work on. The PLTW class I took, it taught you about the engineering design process and how to use CAD. CAD is something it was like a class that people struggled in college, but coming with CAD experience from high school, it made that class easier and allowed me to put more time into my other hard classes so that I can get do better in those. So I would definitely say the PLTW introduction class, and then anything else that piques your interest.
That's great advice.
Um, okay, next. Okay, I have like a few questions that like I had in mind. I can just quickly like talk about it for like a minute each. And so like one of the first things was, why did I choose aerospace engineering at U of I? One of the main reasons was going to the games camp here and seeing that aerospace at U of I is a pretty close knit community, and all the professors know the students, and it's different from the other majors. So like computer science, it's so hard to get to know your professors because there's so many students. But aerospace is like a smaller department. It's more like 300 students um, each class. So when the professors know you, it's nicer to talk to them about their research experience, their opportunities that they have to give you, and just getting to know them at office hours and things like that. How did I realize I was interested in aerospace engineering? Well, basically taking classes at Metea that related to engineering. I really liked physics when I was a high school student, and apart from that, I was kind of torn between mechanical engineering and computer science, and they were so vastly different in terms of like what I was going into. But when I went to the games camp, I felt like aerospace combined a little bit of mechanical, a little bit of computer science, and I think in general, like doing computers, sorry, not computer science, doing aerospace, you could do whatever you want within it. Like if you go into like electrical engineering, you do a lot of electrical, but like if you go into aerospace, you could do electrical engineering within aerospace, or you could code for something like a satellite in aerospace engineering, or you could do the materials behind it instead of going into material science and engineering. I just feel like aerospace is one of those majors where you have like technical teams in every different area that combine to make a whole system. So that's what I really like. And, you know, even after like 4 years of college, you could still explore different avenues and go into something else within the same industry that you like.
So it's like aerospace
Uh,
engineering is like a big combination of mechanical, electrical, and all kinds of other engineering disciplines, right?
Yeah,
Seetha, if I could ask a question, are you interested in flying?
flying.
Flying.
I really thought about it. Yeah, I know. So there's this place called Parkland College, and it's 25 minutes away from here. And you could actually, U of I students apply there often. You can get a private pilot's license from there, and it's definitely something I've thought about. I just, I wish I could do it right now, but I just don't have space in my schedule. So I was thinking about doing it after I graduate from college, when I have the time and the money to do that. Quite
Yes, it
expensive, I
is
heard.
rather expensive.
Yeah.
I was taking I took a course in that when I first started teaching because my dad was a pilot in the Air Force, and so
Oh wow.
I had 14 hours in the Cessna Aerobat. And then my wife said, "Hey, we're spending a lot of money with these flying lessons," so I had to cut back a little bit. But it's a great experience, and I recommend anybody in aviation go up a couple times in a small prop plane. It really changes your perspective on flying.
Yeah, it's great. Okay. Um, Next, just advice for applying to colleges. I think it's a great thing to start exploring early, just so that you're not stressed out like later on. So when you're senior year trying to apply, it's just more stressful. But when you have it planned out, it doesn't mean you have to know what you're doing, but just like exploring and having it on the top of your mind, and looking into that really helps. And then like having being very organized when applying is really helpful. Making an Excel sheet, putting in all the colleges that you want to apply for, the different majors to apply for, the deadlines, things like that. It takes off a lot of stress because you might be stressed about like your other like scores or writing essays and stuff, and so you don't want to do that simultaneously, like writing college essays and then also like choosing what colleges to apply for. That's a lot of work. So just having it planned out, making a schedule, all of that really helps. Um, so that's something to do. And another thing is like talk to people, you know, like attend events like this, talk to other people, you know, talk to students or like older siblings of friends that you have. It's really nice to get a perspective, and the experience that you're going to have in any college is not going to be it's going to be different for every university that you attend, whether it's like environment, like the RSOs and opportunities they have to offer, and then like the location, like everything does matter. So please look into that because it's very helpful.
So what drew
Um,
you to the aerospace engineering at UIUC specifically? Was there anything about like the college's program in particular that stood out
um,
compared to like colleges in other areas?
Yeah, I think it was definitely going to the games camp. Maybe it had a little bias, but other than that, they have like a very tight knit community. When I talk to them, everyone knows each other. Like when I went to this games camp, I met like the head of the department, and he would email me after I came back from the camp, like throughout senior year, and I asked him if he could look at my essay while I applied for the college, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." It was like very nice to have that. And there was Laura, the advisor here. She's very, very nice, and everyone goes for her. Everyone calls her by first name because everyone's just like close to her. And when you have like trouble with classes, you go to her and you talk to her, and it just felt like um, it didn't feel like it would be like stressful like college where you don't know anyone. Like you're close with the members of your cohort as well as the professors and the advisors, which was really nice. And then also, I think in general, like UVI is good for engineering and just like the opportunities that they offer to like explore it, that like really piqued my interest because I did want to pursue a CS minor. So knowing that like I had that was nice. As well as the number of RSOs they do big things here. So um, one of the satellite clubs just released a satellite into space from U of I, and so we like work on projects that are happening in real life, and there's a lot of good research that happens here. A lot of opportunities with NASA and Boeing and SpaceX. A lot of recruiters come here and they talk about what they're doing, and they give students the opportunity to work on these projects with them so that they get real industry experience. And I think that's like great at U of I, just like connecting you to people, networking. It's a big thing. So I really like that about U of I.
Yeah, the tight-knit community is important because that allows you to network more, gain more opportunities, and yeah, it contributes to a stress-free environment for you at least.
Yeah. And then for advice for choosing between colleges, I guess again, this would be short again, but like think about what you want in the college that you're looking for. Think about like obviously what you're gonna study and if they are satisfying what you want to study and like the specifics that you want to go into, but also like the environment there, because no matter how much you like your major there, if you're not like happy or you don't think you don't like the cold and you hate the cold and you're gonna be stuck in the cold forever and you don't think you can do well, then maybe try to like see if there's another school that offers the same or similar things but like better. So like I feel like setting a list of priorities and seeing kind of having like a checklist and seeing which college checks off your list. And another thing that one of my friends did was actually she had a post-it note with the different colleges, and then every time that it popped up on her mind, she would like make a tally on it, and then it was just kind of like a subconscious like way of tracking like how much you really wanted a school, because like she wanted one but like deep inside she wanted another school, so it was just a good way to track. I thought that was something cool she did. Another question like I get sometimes, is it hard to double major and minor and if you're in aerospace? That depends. If you come in with a lot of credits, it's definitely not hard at all. But it's like you have to think about if you want to do it and if you really think it'll be useful. Sometimes people might think it just like looks good on your degree, but it might not have no use. It might not have any use, and you should not take like 6, 7 classes just so that you could get something that you might not even use in the future. So it's definitely like thinking about it and like like I want coding because I want to go into the autonomous field and work with robotics, and I feel like that's why I might pursue it, but I don't want it for like minor things. It might not be useful because you can just take classes and learn it instead of taking extra classes to satisfy a minor and not using it. Another thing is if you like think you're ending school early, does not mean you have to take a minor. You could graduate early and do other things, or you could take a semester off and do a co-op or an internship or a part-time job and take a few classes. So don't think that you have to take classes to have to do a minor, even if you do come in with a bunch of credits and you have space. Another question is, do I have free time? What is there to do? I do get free time when I schedule my classes and my work accordingly. I think scheduling is one of the biggest things that you should care about while you're in college, because it really does make the biggest difference. It allows you to not only do well in your classes, but also put your time into RSOs and activities that seem fun to you or that you're interested in, because it's not only taking classes, but doing work related to the things that you're interested in that you want to go into in the future. And there's a lot of things to do at U of I. All RSOs have events, and there's a lot of food to try. So that's all cool. Classes are, it really depends on the classes. So freshman year, the classes are really big. You might be in an auditorium that fits like 400 people, but you might also be in a classroom that has 30 people in it. There's lectures, which are very, very big, and then there's discussions where you actually work with people on worksheets about the content that you learn in the lecture, and those are more smaller. And then as you get into your junior, senior year, even though there's lectures, there might be, the classes just might be smaller because it's a smaller class and it's more specialized classes. So these are classes that people are picking to take and not necessarily required.
So for you, do you have classes every day of the week?
I do this semester, yes. So I have 4 classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but on Tuesday and Thursday, I only have 2 classes. So it depends. And then last semester, I had like 4 classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I had 0 classes on Tuesday and Thursday. And you can kind of take what classes you can take. There's like for each class. So like if I want to take AP, or not AP, sorry, just like thermodynamics, they might offer 3 different sections, and they'll be at different times, and you can just like see if it conflicts with any of your classes, and then take the ones that are available to you, or like if you have a preference and you have the option to choose between them, then you can do that.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yep. And then advice on transitioning from high school and college, from high school to college, I guess the biggest difference that was made for me was using a schedule. Like college is nothing like high school. Fewer classes, but like the work is much, much harder. And so it's just making a schedule and being aware that you're going to have to work harder, because sometimes like coming in, you're like, oh, I'm just taking this class. I just have to put in this much work. But it's so much different. And it'll take a little while to realize that, but just being aware that you need to transition will help you transition. So just being up and ready on your feet to put in the work and put in the effort to do well. And always ask for help when you need it. All classes offer office hours, and you can get to know the professor, which is a great way. And like they'll really help you learn the content and give you what the resources you need to learn the content better as well. And then, really, if you're like at the edge of a borderline grade and you went to office hours and you talk to these professors, they're going to be willing to bump your grade and give you the grade that they think you deserve just for asking for help. You might not do well on a test, and someone else might not do well on a test, but because you ask for help, you will get a better grade than another person, just because the professor would believe that you deserve it because you were trying your best to do well in the class. So that's a great thing. And then if you guys have any other questions, I am happy to answer.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much for the presentation, Seetha. Yeah, we can get started on the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. In the meantime, an attendee wanted to know about what types of internships can students take in their junior, senior year of high school that can help them learn more about aerospace engineering.
So I think you can take some camps and stuff, but internships, I believe some companies like Boeing and SpaceX, and they have like programs for people in high school that you can apply to. And I think that's a great way to get that exposure. It is kind of hard to get these internships, like even people in college. They're like competing for the same positions, very, very hard. But just showing that you have interest is a really good way. Just apply to these like aerospace companies, or just even ask other like engineering companies to shadow. You don't have to specifically do aerospace, but just like I'm going into any engineering. Like I said, aerospace is like encompassing of a lot of different fields. So just learning skills, doing like electrical or computer science or engineer, anything, and then finding a way to like apply that to your interest in aerospace. That would be great, because it's not like you can make a propulsion system without an electrical component,
Hmm.
things like that, and just applying that and then like transitioning to doing something that interests you. It'll really help. So basically anything STEM related. It doesn't even have to be engineering. You could do something chem related or something physics related, and it will give you a lot of exposure.
Right. Give you insight if you just, dip your feet in and try new things. And on top of
Yeah.
that, where can you work as an aerospace engineer? Because normally we often, when it comes to aerospace, we often think of the big companies like NASA, Lockheed Martin, SpaceX. But where else could you work as an aerospace engineer?
A lot of aerospace engineers also um, work in like the any with the like autonomous I don't know, like autonomous field, just because they do have to take some CS related courses. But basically almost any company where your skills would be applicable. So anything that's mechanical related, aerospace engineers can do. Um, a lot of people work at like car companies. I know like other big ones are like Rolls Royce that a lot of people work at. And then another thing is a lot of aerospace students also work at startups. There's so many startups in aerospace, and that's like a great way to help develop stuff. And a lot of aerospace engineering is also like research based. So if you do research with aerospace engineering, it's really nice to get into the startups and learn new things and like innovate and learn. But honestly, you could, depending on the skills you have, you could go into anything you want.
Hmm.
That's just my opinion. So a lot of like I know a lot of people do like um, ECE miners or like CS miners, and they go into that field. Like they do software for satellites, and they do software for like other things. And then they also like work in like car companies. And then also another thing that people go into is aerospace. Is like nautical and so like working on boats, things like that, and yachts. So I know people who go into that just because aerospace is also like learning how things move in air or like any fluid. So air is a fluid, but so is water. Water is a fluid. So that's something you like learn. You can take specialized classes about, and learning anything that moves aerospace can do. So,
Yeah,
way.
right. A student wanted to know about what kinds of soft and technical skills are most important for an aerospace engineering or for an
Um,
aerospace engineer. Like, what kinds of soft and technical skills are important?
um, I definitely think like in terms of like college and stuff, like time management, scheduling, things like that. But otherwise, like technical skills, it's great to have CAD skills, drawing skills. Just like not like you don't have to like draw a beautiful picture, but just being able to organize and put your thoughts on paper and be able to present that, being able to present your ideas in a manner where other people would understand you. So because a lot of like designing and drawing and things like that, and putting your ideas out there, and like some soft skills, just like being able to express your ideas, um, and just like in the career, being able to present well, being able to communicate well, because a lot of aerospace stuff you can't just do on your own. You have to work in
Right.
teams,
It's a
and
class.
you have to like be able to accept other people's ideas and things like that, and other soft skills like 3D printing is useful, laser cutting is useful. Um, and then in college, they'll teach you the different things you need to know. So like you don't have to be learning about this before you come in, but there's like some open rocket software that like where you design a rocket, and it'll tell you like how far it'll go into the air, and like the other like effects of like drag and um, the other forces.
Mhm.
So it's great to like get into that, but like the basic engineering skills. that you need.
Yeah, and on top of that, how have you been able to use your programming skills as an aerospace engineering student? Like
Um,
the different projects you've done use programming.
so like the research I was talking about, so we made an automated robotic arm that would spin the airfoil in the wind tunnel, and then as soon as it snapped into the new position, it would just bring it back and then measure how to bring it back to its original position. So things like that. And then there's another club called Solar Card that I did, and it was like working with the screen where you see like all the information about the car at the moment. So like while the driver is driving, it was useful for that. And in classes in general, I feel like having that has made my classes easier. My aerospace classes easier. So when we have to do a lot of Python and stuff like that, while other people may like have to learn that from the beginning, I have all of that experience, which just makes that class easier to understand and more easier for me to put in more effort to understand. Um, and projects like that. And I'm just trying to get into the robotics of the drones next semester. And I feel like it's a lot about like algorithm based. So I think my skills will come in handy then. And that's hopefully what I want to do in the future as a
Yeah,
career. So I'm hoping that will help.
right. Programming is indeed helpful because like you can automate things too, in your
Yeah.
projects, which is pretty cool. And just my final question is, what is your biggest piece of advice for what students can do right now to acquaint themselves with the field of aerospace engineering? And again,
Um,
to my attendees, feel free to write down any more questions if you have any.
I think is research. Like it doesn't have to be like heavy technical research. Just watch videos on like aerospace or like what the industry is doing. Another big thing with aerospace is like being aware of current topics because it's a constantly changing field, like going to hypersonics, and there's the different missions to Mars, and like every company is doing something new and different and innovative, and they're trying to really do something new that might find something new in space and things like that. So I think just being aware of current topics is one big thing. So like, and also not just current topics, but also like history of what NASA did and like their different missions and what they're planning to do, and
Hmm.
like learning about their timeline, the goals. It's just really nice to know, and I feel like once you once your like interests get explored, you can see what you want to do with it, and I feel like that's the best way to do it. And also think about what kind of work you want to do. Don't don't like think of it as like, oh, I want to like go into this job. Like think about what you want to do with the job. I feel like a lot of people get carried by that, and then later they're in college and like, oh, I wish I did not do this, and
Hmm.
it's a little hard to like come out of it because there's other like factors like financial factors that are like, oh, I can't switch majors now, but it's something you should think about now so that you don't make that mistake in the future.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Quick question. So, during your admissions process, did you ever consider, applying to Purdue's aerospace engineering program? A student wanted to know about how UIUC's program compared to Purdue's. So I just want to ask, if you ever considered Purdue's program and like what drew you toward UIUC compared to that?
Yeah. So I applied to both and I got into both, but the reason why I chose U of I think, is just because all of Purdue's like I think aerospace program is like a little betterly ranked. I don't know if that's it's like ranked a little bit better, but I think like from going to the camp here, just like all the RSOs that they had to offer and like just the dynamic of like how caring the department was. I just felt like it was more tighter knit, and just in general, like the whole engineering community, like being in the Granger College of Engineering, just made everything better. So I just feel like you have opportunities to explore other engineering avenues, like there's Illini Solar Car team. It's like in the EC electrical and computer engineering department, but it's like so many mechanical and aerospace students work on there, and that's a world-renowned team, and it always wins at the some of the competitions that they go to, And I feel like that opportunity I can't come across anywhere else. And U of I also has amazing aerospace research. It's one of the biggest research schools, and gets a lot of funding for research. And I feel like research is the backbone of innovation. So coming here, I feel like with aerospace, it's like a great way to work on things I like, and all the professors have like great research projects they're working on. The department head that I was talking about, he like studies the ice that forms on airplane wings, and then how to like how you can like prevent that from going down the airplane, and
Oh, wow.
freezing like the motor parts. So things like that.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll just wait for, a couple more seconds if you guys have any more questions for Seetha.
Yeah, and I can send my email in the chat, and you guys can feel free to email
For
me.
sure. Would you also like to post the summer camp you were talking about that you took during your high school?
Yeah, yeah. Can do that. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.